All right. What's up? How's everybody doing? Happy Friday. We are back. I'm back. I back from Tableau conference last week. Was a great time. Had an awesome time. Good to see everybody, and good to see some new features and new innovations and all that fun stuff. So had a really great had a really great week. So excited to be back. We did Workout Wednesday live there, so hopefully you were able to make the challenge work. It was pretty fun. Lorna came up with a new chart type. She called it a jitter fly, which is a pretty cool chart. So it's kind of a jitter plot and a butterfly chart, all mixed up into one, which is kind of cool. And yeah, so it seems like we've got another new chart type happening this week from Luke, which should be pretty interesting. So let's take a look. So can you build a heat map with bathymetry lines? Okay. So if we look at his introduction here, you can see, so it's kind of like, contour lines, topology, but kind of that's what happened. So contour lines, elevation, topology, that's kind of on top of the earth, and then for anything below the earth, we call it bathymetry lines. I don't know how to pronounce it. And anyway, so you can see how you can take this kind of 3D model and you can kind of make it 2D, and excuse me. And then you can kind of see, what those lines look like. So what we're going to try and do is try and mimic that on a heat map. So you can see here, we've got, so if we go to the actual chart here, right? So you basically have contour lines for each partition of percents, right? So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. So, I'm interested to see what happens. I'm interested to see how it goes. What can we tell about this chart just by looking at it right now? So I'm not sure if there's supposed to be grid lines in here, but you can see, you can kind of see grid. I can kind of see grid lines, right? You can kind of see these grid lines in between here, right? So you can see these grid lines that are right there, and then we've got these really thick lines right here that are splitting that. You can also kind of tell up here, right, where these two at the vertice of these two lines these lines, they're not fully connecting, right? So so that kind of gives me a little indication of something. And yeah, and then all right, so let's just let's see how we do here. What do you say? All right, so we'll do, let's go to here. Here we go. So I got Tableau open. Let's connect to Superstore. There we go. Very good. All right. So we're doing, let's go ahead. Looks like we're doing months. Is that right? Let's see. Yeah, months. And we're doing the date part of month. So let's go ahead and create a custom date of months. We'll make it the date part. So again, date part versus date value. Do you want discrete or continuous months? All right, so date part is discrete months, all of the Januaries, all of the Februaries. Or do you want the date value, January 22, January 23, January 24? We just want the date part. So we'll do that. Actually, I'll rename this and I'll call it order month. Put that out there. And then we have got subcategory, trusty old subcategory. You think subcategory is the most used? Is it the most used column in Superstore? Do you think? It's got to be, right? The most common dimension outside of date, right? It's got to be. It has to be. Everybody uses it. Okay, so we've got our heat map here. We've got a null here for copiers in February. Let's see. Copiers in February. So Luke's does not have a null there. Oh, okay. Create a heat map by month and subcategory. You probably have one cell that has no value. That's okay. Very good. All right, good deal. For each cell of the heat map, show the cumulative percent of total from each subcategory. The values should count up unless there are... Okay. We need to connect return? We need to connect returns? Interesting. Okay. I don't think I've ever used the return field. Return yes. Okay. So if it's returned, we would subtract the sales. Is that right? So this is what? Net sales. So if returned equals yes, then zero, else sales. Okay. And then we'll do a percent of total on this. Nope. 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 Net sales. Fixed on order ID. Sum if okay, let's get rid of this. Let's just do this for now, and then we'll come back to it. All right, so that's the sum of sales. We'll do a percent of total, a cumulative percent of total. Compute across. Edit table calculation. Percent of total. We want this to equal 100, right? So let's do order month, subcategory, sales, percent of total. I want this to be pane down. No. running sum of sales divided by the total sum of sales. Running sum sales divided by the total sum sales. There. Put that on text. Make that every pane down. There we go. Goodness gracious. Okay, so we just need to do this. Let's do running total. Edit table calculation. Percent of total. Okay, there we go. That looks better. And then we'll format this to be percentage, only one decimal place. We'll also make this a heat map. Okay, so yeah, all right. So there's that. And all right, so we've got our heat map. Let's make sure it looks right, and then we can do this. Edit the colors. We'll do stepped. Is it every? No, it's not every. It's like, oh. So to group our coding, he says here, he gives us one. So round percent of total times 50. What's that do? Okay, so it's going to take the percent of total and it's going to multiply it by 50, which is going to half it. But then we're going to round to that to the -1 decimal place, which is the tens place, right? Because the first place to the left, so negative. Interesting. I never thought of doing a round on the opposite side of the decimal place, but that makes sense, right? Because if you were to do 0, it would round it to the nearest 1 place. If you did +1, +1 would make it round to the nearest 10th, right? On the right side of the decimal, but the -1 would make it round to the nearest 10 in the positive value. So that's interesting. All right. So then we'll do, for our color, we'll just do not a parameter. That is not it. Not a parameter there. Okay, so we'll do this. We'll do round. We'll take this calculation here. We're going to round that calculation to, oh no, we're going to multiply it by 50. Yeah, okay, so we need to wrap that there and then do -1. And we'll call this the it's the tens, not the 10th, the tens. Yeah. Okay, so that works. So tens is actually going to be our color now. There we go. Interesting. And then we can go here. Make it step just to make sure. Okay. So now we need to figure out how to put dividers. We need to do dynamic dividers here. Okay, let's have a think. Let's have a think on that. Have a drink of coffee. Have a think on that. How are we going to do that? Well, let's think about this. So what are the ways that we can add essentially dividers between squares on only one side of a partition, on one side, right? So I mean, if we do it right, I mean, we can do grid lines and dividers, but that's going to do it on every side, right? Like if I put a really thick white line, that's going to put it everywhere, right? Like if I do that, right? Like I don't want that because that puts it on everything. So that's not it. It's almost like we need to do we need to, just cleaning this up while I think about this. So the ways that we can do this, so the ways that you can add lines to, let's not even think about like if we just wanted to add lines to a sheet. One, we could do a line chart. I don't think that's the right answer because we don't have a continuous measure. Because we want it to be a heat map, but there can't be any measures on columns or rows to do a heat map. So that's not it. We're not going to do lines. What about reference lines? Yeah. Reference lines could work. But how are we going to do that with... So we would need to create dimensions here. But I guess they don't really matter. Because we just need to hack okay, let's try this. I'm just gonna do placeholder column. It's gonna be min 0.0. Duplicate, edit, row, make these column to columns, rows to rows. Okay. So we're going to need to figure out a way to create No, that's not it. Let's see. What? This one's tough. But I know I don't want this. What if we put something on size? No. Well, that goes away. Okay. Oh, we're getting somewhere. What's column? What's okay? So there's that, and yeah. So there's that. So we've got essentially a really big bar chart, right? Really big bars on each partition, but it's okay because we have a discrete pill up here. The bars, they don't overlap, right? Because then I can create a calculation that basically says if there's a difference, right? Because if we look at the tens here, see how it changes. See how the tens change. So if I can like figure out a way to isolate that, if I can figure out a way to isolate that, right? Like these are the same. These are not the same. So draw a line. I think that's the way that this is going to work. And then I would have to do the same thing over here on this. But when I do that, that happens, and that's not what I want. Is it? Oh. Don't aggregate this. There we go. So the reason that it was doing that is because by aggregating it, it made a scatter plot. By aggregating both the columns and the rows, it was creating a scatter plot, and that's not what I want. I just need a dimension, a placeholder dimension, but I do need to aggregate, right? If I were to make this, but I don't think this is going to work. Yeah, because again, it's making a scatter plot, and that's not what we want. So by mixing up the aggregation and the non-aggregation, that's how we're able to. And then this goes to 0. So this is where I can go if I can make my like negative 0.25 up to 2.5. and then center it, and then center align it. Okay. So then we'll just do the same thing here, right? Like if, so yeah, we'll just basically do a lookup to see if the 10s are equal to the previous. And then, because what I can do, so, yeah. So we can do, so for the top of the lines, we would say, look to see if the 10s are, so let's just do that. Let's just write this out. This is the if lookup 10s -1 10s, then and then I can take this and put it on detail. And then I can go here and I can add a reference line. But I would need to none. Yep. So I should have one right there. Oh, yeah, but I don't because I need to. Well, that changed it. Oh, there we go. All right, why is that? This is a toughie. Oh, not equal to, it's the opposite. It's the opposite of that. We don't want it to be equal to it. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Do you see it? So now we just need to do the side of the line. And return, so this is going to be sideline. And then this is one. And we'll do detail. And we'll do edit. Nope. Add a reference line. Okay, we're kind of there. Oh. Yeah. That's not right. Why is that? Why is there a line there? Wait, what is... row order for the tens? That means this has to be row order for the tens too. Yeah. Okay, so I fixed that. Row order, yeah. It needs to be the positive. Nope. Move that up there. There we go. There we go. I think that, does that do it? Let's remove our line, move our headers here. Okay. Let's double check. And then we can just clean up all these lines. Format. No divider, no dividers. No grid lines. No zero lines. No trend lines. Reference lines are going to be that. No borders. There we go. There we go. All right. So how do we? Let's go back and look at what we're doing here. So I made this pH column here, this placeholder column field. It's just a minimum of 0, or it's minimum of 1. That means our bar chart's going to go to 1. Because I also, right? So when you put it up there, if you do a bar chart, your aggregation goes on columns, and that means all these bars are at value of 1. I edited the axis for it to only go to 1, so you don't, so it goes off. Then in order to get that, what I did for the sidelines, right, is if the lookup of tens, if the previous value of tens is not equal to the current value of tens, then return 0. And then we just draw a reference line down where that's true, and you can see here, or where that's false, right? And you can see here that these are equal to each other going sideways. Therefore, there's no border right there. Then I just did the same thing with that. Now let's figure out this here thing. I think this is going to be pretty easy. We just need to do another lookup. So we're going to do if null if null that, then lookup that -1 previous value. We're just going to carry that over, right? Because the cumulative, right? The cumulative running percent of total just means that if this is null, it's also 0. So I guess the other thing we could do is, I don't even need to do that. I just need to do sum of sales, edit my table calculation, and oh no, it doesn't, I don't have that ability. Okay, so I do need to do this. So if null, then that, if that is null, then do a lookup of that to the previous value. And then this also needs to change. No. Oh, right. Okay, so if, let's change this up. If is null this, then there we go. Seems really weird, right? And this is why this is. I mean, this is where nulls can get really finicky, right? Like the reason I had to do like why I'm doing the exact same thing, right? Uh, if something, then one, else one. So it should just be why can't I just put one in there? Well, because null is not a value. You need to put something in place of that. Null is a concept. It's not a value. So, yeah, I had to force it to do that. So, if null, return 1. Else, give me 1, right? So that's essentially what I'm doing. And you can see here it filled that in pretty nicely. So, pretty cool, pretty cool. So there you go. So there's how we do that. Pretty fun challenge. That was a pretty fun challenge. I enjoyed that. It's different. Certainly different. Certainly a head scratcher. But we got there in the end. So, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it, everyone tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a great week next week. We'll talk to y'all next week. Go forth and viz.